Hi everybody. Okay, so I'm doing a voiceover because my family was home and it was quite noisy that evening, and I did it at night, so I'm sorry if the lighting isn't that great for this part 1 of my I Am journal a la Cindy Utter. This is I Am Creative, and I had already gessoed down this piece of watercolor paper. It's the Canson watercolor brand. And now I'm using it was the Media Line gesso, the white gesso by DecoArt, and also using the Media Line products. I used the matte medium from that, and the matte medium from DecoArts is not tacky. Though decoupage, however, is tacky. Even in the matte, it tends to be tacky, so it's better for some types of crafting that you might want to do that you're not going to be, putting pieces of paper together that might stick, such as an art journal that you might put together. You wouldn't want to use the decoupage one for that, but the Media Line the Media Line matte medium works. So anyhow, I'm putting pieces of Tim Holtz papers down, and I'm using the DecoArt Media Line matte medium, and then I'm going to smooth it out with a gift card, like an old gift card or old credit card that you might have laying around, something like that, where you can smooth out the papers so they don't buckle, and get out all the air bubbles that might be underneath the paper. So that's what I'm doing. And then I've got these pieces from an old dictionary that my father-in-law actually gave us. It's a giant circa 1950s Webster dictionary. It's huge. It's got I don't know how many pages. It's got to be at least 2,000 to 3,000 pages. It's a huge dictionary, and I like to use it for these types of projects, tearing bits and pieces of it out of the book. So that's what I did here. I used some leftover dictionary pages I had used in another project, and then again I'm going to use a old gift card to smooth it out so it lays flatter. And hopefully you can hear me better. I'm on my headset today to do the narration, and I'm hoping that everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, so that's the only drawback, is that the new microphone I bought is not meant for the computer. I can hook it up to my camera, but not to my computer, so yeah. And in this particular one, I was not speaking because it was just too noisy in my house, like I said, to do an actual live video with me actually talking. So I'm smoothing out the pieces and looking for the other pieces of paper that I'm gluing down here. There it goes. I put another piece down, and I'm smoothing it out, and you'll see in the next segment the next step. Okay, so in this part I had already put another little piece down that was from an old gardening book, and then a shipping label, but it looked kind of old-fashioned, so I wanted to put that down in my background and to add some more interest to the page. So that's what I ended up doing off camera. Okay, so then I'm actually adding one more piece down. So I'm adding a little more matte medium to add one more last thing on this page. It was, some old, well, it's not really old, some graph paper that I thought would just add a little bit of interest to the paper, to the page, to the art journal page, to my I Am page. And I'm smoothing it out again with the old gift card. I'm just making sure everything is going down fairly flat, and I'm going back in and taking the credit card and just basically smoothing it out some more. All the areas out some more, getting some of the excess matte medium off of the paper. And then I'm drying it with my dryer, or what I should say, my heat gun. Alright, so now I am going to add some color, and I'm using the DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics in the Cobalt Turquoise hue, it's what it's called. So I added just a few dots directly onto the paper. And I'm rinsing out my brush a little bit because I had other stuff on that brush and I didn't want to mix it up with the paint. So I'm just spreading it out. And I'm just smoothing it all out with my brush. Okay, so next I'm using the Phtalo Turquoise on this, and I'm adding little dots here and there on the page, directly onto the paper. And then I'm going to use my brush to spread it out, paint it out. I'm kind of using a scratchy kind of motion because I really want to get it into the paper and try to spread it out as much as I can without having to wet it down too much. Kind of scrubbing it into the watercolor paper. And then I am using, it's called the Traditions, I think it's the Glazing Medium. Yes, it's the Traditions Glazing Medium by DecoArt. And so I'm putting that on the top, and it is what I thought the paint had, was sort of already drying. But by adding the glazing medium over the top, it actually added, spread out the paint even more and thinned it out quite a bit. It's the effect I had wanted by doing that. So now it kind of gave the paper sort of a worn look to it. Almost like a denim look to it. And next I'm using the interference. It's I believe in the green. It's called it's the DecoArt Media line, and it's called Interference, and it's like, I can't explain it per se. Supposedly it gives like a green, almost metallic look to a paper, but yeah, so it's kind of interesting because it goes on like a milky white almost, but if you're using it on top of a paint that's similar in color, you can see the green sort of showing on this interference paint. And it does make the colors change when the light hits the paper. It gives it kind of a shimmery, almost metallic look to it. So yeah, so it's really interesting. It gives it a really cool look. So next I'm going in with a Phtalo Green-Blue, and I'm adding that to the edges, and I'm going to use the gift card to scrape out the paint, to spread out the paint to give it kind of a scraped look or a weathered look. Then I went ahead and let this dry, and then I came back and I ended up adding some more of the turquoise, Cobalt Turquoise hue, the media fluid acrylics, and I'm adding just little dots of it onto the paper. And I'm going to use a credit card again to scrape that across the paper. Then I took the DecoArt's Traditions Glazing Medium, and I'm going over with it with that. And then I, for some reason, lost part of my filming there, but so I went ahead and put the Glazing Medium on, and then I dried it, and that kind of gave it a cool look. And then I came in using my Stabilo All pencil in black, and I'm drawing a circle, which you will see it eventually is going to be something. I'm not going to tell you just yet. Then I went ahead and I put down the yellow oxide in the fluid acrylics. And the tip that I give everyone is that it's best to start out with the lighter paints and go darker than darker versus lighter, because sometimes the paints aren't as opaque, the lighter paints. And so if you start out darker and then you go with the lighter, sometimes it doesn't show up as well as using a darker a lighter paint, and then because you can always go darker, but you really can't go back to light. So that's just a suggestion. So I'm slowly painting the circle, this yellow ochre color, actually yellow oxide, sorry. It almost looks like I'm beginning to paint the moon or the sun, but that's not what it is. Then I went in and I used some raw sienna and went over, oh actually no, I used the transparent yellow iron oxide, which is a very sheer colored paint, so it really didn't show much. I should have, if I had really wanted to, I should have started with that first and then with the yellow oxide, but I did the opposite. Then I went in and using the Traditions DecoArt paints, acrylic paints, I used it's kind of like a beigey color. I will be listing all the colors I've used on here. I think it was a burnt sienna that I used to start, I think. No, actually it was a medium beige I went in with. Went in with a medium beige first in the DecoArt's Traditions acrylic paint, artist acrylic paints in medium beige. Then I went back to I think I put some raw sienna next is what I put down. And the DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics, I used some raw sienna. So I'm just playing with the colors and layering till I get the effect I want is basically what I'm doing. When you work with acrylics, it's all about the layering and the blending of the colors. And then I went ahead and grabbed some raw sienna in the DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics. So I'm going back and forth between using the yellow oxide, the transparent yellow iron oxide, the raw sienna, and the Traditions medium beige, along with the metallic gold. You'll see me put some of that in. Okay, so unfortunately my camera shut off while I had drawn out the flower petals. I used my Stabilo all pencil in brown to do the flower petals, and then I'm going in with a medium white. It's called medium white and it's by the Traditions brand. It's actually warm white, I'm sorry, it's warm white that I went in to start these petals with, these flower petals that I'm doing. And unfortunately, I guess it didn't pick up the middle of the flower either. I had used some burnt umber or burnt sienna, actually burnt sienna for the middle of the flower. And yeah, so that's what I used in the middle of the flower. And then I went ahead and, you know, I'm finishing up these flower petals. I'm sorry guys, for some reason my camera I think ran out of battery and I wasn't paying attention. I was in the zone and I just failed to look up and see that my camera had shut off right at the wrong time too. So yeah, so you missed that part. I'm sorry. So I'm just going in and finishing up these petals, and then I'm going to let it dry. Okay, so then I'm going in with the transparent yellow oxide, iron oxide, to paint some of the petals with. And I'm using my filbert brush to do that with. Okay, so I had started out using the transparent yellow iron oxide and decided that that color wasn't doing it for me. It was a little too transparent. So I went back and used the yellow oxide over it, and then I think I just continued using it that way. Okay, so I'm finishing up the last few petals, and this is going to be the end of part 1. So I hope you will join me for part 2 coming up next. And thanks for joining me in this video on my I Am Journal, Alice Cindy Utter, and I hope that you will stay tuned for part 2. See you soon. Toodles, bye. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe and like if you haven't done already. Thanks. Bye.